Good evening. Welcome to the August 19th, 2025 City Council meeting. Thank you all for coming out. So I'd like to call the meeting to order, and Councilmember Stuart Jacobson has our invocation. So please stand.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join me. We come together tonight as servants of this community, grateful for the trust placed in us. We recognize that each of us brings different experiences, perspectives, and convictions to this table. Some are seasoned and some are new to the work of governing. Grant us the humility to listen as much as we speak, the patience to learn before we decide, and the wisdom to set aside pride for the sake of the common good. Help us to remember that leadership is not about insisting on our own way, but about discerning together the best path for all who call Sugar Land home. Bless our council with mutual respect, with clarity of thought, and with courage to act not for ourselves, but for the generations who will live with the choices we make. Amen.
Thank you. Next, we have Ayush Sharma, and he's going to come up and lead us in the pledges to our flag. So, yeah, come on down. So, Ayush is a student at Stephen F. Austin High School and is a member of Troop 38. And he's been a Boy Scout for 6 years and recently volunteered with our Parks Department to help build fencing around the wildflower section at Cullinan Park.
I pledge allegiance to the flag in the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
So next on the item agenda is public comment. So persons wanting to speak to the public, to council, can speak for up to 3 minutes. Let me get my reading glasses on. So anyway, the first speaker is going to be Anna Zafaris, and she is speaking on item 9A in opposition. Anna?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mayor, Madam Mayor, and City Council. Happy to be here. My name is Anna Lakutis Zafiris. I live on 1010 Walker School Road here in Sugar Land, Precinct 2. The reason I'm here is I oppose anything that has to do with raising our city taxes without any reason at this point. We are suffering with rising costs and inflation. Our elderly and many families are having to leave their homes because the tax rates are high and the valuations are high. At this point, I am asking the City Council and the Mayor to seize the narrative. Having a tax rate in this environment is really political suicide, and I hate to use that word, but a lot of residents do not want this and can't take the time to come and express themselves. The city should put a moratorium on spending, freeze the spending, take 6 months, evaluate carefully, independently, and and with a keen eye, apart from your city manager's opinions. Administration is always going to protect administration. And that's why, in addition to a moratorium on spending, I am requesting that the mayor and the city council consider hiring an independent evaluation and audit of the city's expenses, including the administrative expenses, the operation and budget expenses, and we, the taxpayers, certainly did not like the taxpayer giveaways to developments like Lake Point, that it was $25 million, and now the city is coming back to us and asking us to increase our tax rate. That is absolutely not going to fly. We will protest, and this will not look favorably upon all of you. We want to see you to be diligent, careful stewards of our tax dollars, each and every one of you, whether we elected you or not. We all wish the best for you, and we want you to make wise, careful, efficient, practical decisions. Maybe we have to change our city manager, pay them less. At this point, with his compensation package, he's making almost $800,000 a year, which is not similarly situated to
30
other
seconds.
cities this size. So there you can start with the bloat and look at your contracts. $6 million for a design. Maybe you need to have more contracts and more bidding processes and open it up. That's unacceptable. So please be careful with our money. We don't want tax
10
breaks.
seconds.
And thank you so much for the opportunity to tell you that.
Thank you, Anna. Our next speaker is, and refrain from clapping, please, in the chamber. So our next speaker is Jessie Matthew, and she's speaking in opposition of item agenda 9A.
Hi, good afternoon to all the city council members, Mayor McCutcheon. Hi, my name is Jessie Matthew. I'm a resident of District 1 in Imperial, Crown Garden. I am here to state that I am opposed to the tax rate increase. I did not vote for the $350 million bond. We should not be putting an undue tax burden on residents, especially our older population, when the city can find ways to reduce the budget. I believe that the city needs to find ways to decrease spending within the management and operations budget. In my experience, most of the money that is wasted is at the top. For example, the city manager should not be making close to, this is what I've heard, almost $800K with this new proposed budget. The average city manager salary in Texas is $107K. The salaries of the 4 city managers could be reduced as well. They are budgeted for $1.9 million for 2026. At a time when so many are struggling financially, these salaries are excessive. In addition, I don't believe any of the council members or the mayor make even, I think, $25K as public servants for the city. Are you okay with the city manager and assistant city managers making these salaries, especially when there's not really much to show for it? Floor left, nothing's happened within Imperial Redevelopment District. I've been here since 2018, nothing. At least the city council should find a new city manager for a more affordable price, in the least, to save money. We have entrusted you to make decisions for us. Please make the right decisions. Thank you for your time, and I hope you take these suggestions into consideration.
Thank you, Jessie. Our next speaker is Maggie Horgan. She's speaking in opposition to 7A and B and 9A.
Hello, my name is Maggie Horgan, and I live in District 4. In the water of Avalon. I wish I wrote what I wanted to say like her, so it would be fast and quick. So the reason I wanted to speak in the 7A and B, because that lead to where the overspending is coming from to lower the taxes. First of all, in the 7A, when we are spending for the lift, the rehabilitation for the lift station, as of my understanding, there was no bids that offered. There were something that came to the city staff or the city manager, where supposedly they brought 4 or 5 companies that None of you saw those companies, and they chose one bid only, and that was $6.3 million, where the original budget was $500 to $2 million. I went and did digging. There was other bids that was refused to be seen, and I did more digging throughout the Houston and Rosenberg, Missouri City, even Sugar Land. The maximum rehabilitation for any lift was spent between 1.3 to 1.7 million in the history of Sugar Land. All of a sudden, we're tripling the amount to 6.5 with one bid only. What happened to the transparency, Mrs. Mayor, Madam Mayor? What happened that we were going to bring committees from the resident to look over those bids, that they're coming excessively high? Second of all, the second bid to redesign the existing police station. Aren't we building a new police station? Why are we going to redesign it for $3.5 million if we're not going to use it for long? If we're building a new police station, why are we going to pay $3 million to resign a building that we're not going to use for a long time? And where's this money coming from? From new money that we're going to give the police, or that's from the budget that they already have? That's where you cut the money. And again, I agree with everybody about the salary of the manager. Not only that it's excessive, but have you heard the way he was talking to our city councilman, Sanjay?
30 seconds remaining.
He was the way he was talking to him on the recording. You know what? Respect him. At least he's an older gentleman. Do not speak to the people we elect like this. Have some respect, okay? You do not deserve a salary like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Okay, our next speaker is Mayor Godekar.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of the respected city council members. Excuse me. I am standing here to express a very strong opposition towards any proposals by the city that would eventually end up as a liability on the city budget. What I mean is I've been seeing this in the neighborhood. There have been houses that have been on sales for years, and still people are unwilling to buy those houses because of the challenges of rising prices. And now with city planning to increase budget, they are going to end up on the residents, and that's gonna make the residents, it may make things increasingly difficult for the residents to pay for these prices, or even have planned for any additional developments that they have. So I will not reiterate what has already been said, but will say just one thing is, please be judicious in making these decisions and make sure, as your duty is for the citizens and for the community. And I would urge you to strongly reconsider any proposals that would end up as a liability long term on the city books. With that being said, I'm going to stop right here.
Thank you, Mayor. The next speaker is going to be Andy Pinto, and he's speaking in opposition to Agenda Item 9.
Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity. So looking at the budget is a well-prepared and packaged document. But unfortunately, when you open and read the details, it's like peeling an onion, with tears flowing and the distinct smell of fiscal irresponsibility, financial mismanagement, and financial gimmicks. Being a finance professional myself, I don't say and use these words lightly. A couple of examples. Page 5 and page 65, 66, 76% of the general fund of $103 million is going towards compensation. That's 30% of the operating budget of $335 million. Proposal by the city manager is for a 6.5% increase, which is a 3% merit increase and a 3.5% market adjustment, guys. How's that possible? There's no justification for this increase. What's the basis? Do we have KPIs that has the city improved this much to merit an increase like that? The city manager's salary and benefits on page 65-66 of this budget document is $797,000, and for 4 to 5 assistant city managers, it's 1.9 million. Let me repeat, 1.9 million, right? We have an Office of Redevelopment created for the salary and benefits is 1.1 million, whereas we have an Office of Economic Development where the budget is already 1.2 million. If this is not waste, I don't know what it is. Probably who wants to be a millionaire? Join the City of Sugar Land government. Some examples on the utility and airport. We are making money of $11 million as operating income, but we are proposing to take a debt of $15.5 million with an interest of 1.3. That's on page 159 of that document. So some recommendations: we want operational efficiency, a headcount and comp review, compare it with like cities on property tax, on debt, on taxes of city manager. How many city managers do they have? And we need to redo this budget. We have an educated and qualified mayor and city council who have been elected. The mayor and Suzanne have experience in the energy industry, being small business owners. We have Mr. Stewart is a certified financial planner. Mr. Jim has experience in fiscal responsibility and strategic planning. Mr. Rick has experience in people and organizational development. Mr. Rob is an engineer. Sanjay is an engineer as well, right? And just we prayed at the beginning of this city council, we said, we need to work for the common good, right? So we need to take back oversight of the city, put the house back in order using common sense, or in some cases, we need to clean house. There's no more rubber stamping here. You know, we want to increase property tax, we want to increase debt to pay for the 6.5% increase in salaries. Well, there's no account.
Your time is up. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Andy. Do we have any other speakers have come in? Yeah. Okay. The next speaker is Joe Zimmerman, and he's speaking in favor of item agenda 9A. Oh, we need to have quiet in the council chamber, please. Yes, Councilmember Jacobson.
Either we quietly get loose or we go into business, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm former Sugar Land Mayor Joe Zimmerman. I've been in Sugar Land now since 1990. My in-laws moved here in 1980. I first got involved in Sugar Land in the early 1990s. Your action here tonight requires thoughtful, deliberate, and bold action on your part to set up the next 5 to 7 years of the voter-approved $350 million bond election. I'm going to emphasize voter-approved. Look at each individual item that was voted on, far beyond 60%. We've heard a lot of comments tonight, or I've heard a few comments of some people that are very ill-informed. The tax increase is actually for the capital improvement, and it was voted on by the people. And by, like I said, by a majority. Key issue here is voter approved, which means the majority of our citizens, not the minority that you've heard from. It is not about representing special interest groups who are not informed, don't understand the budget, don't understand the general fund or the enterprise funds, and quite frankly, do not represent the interest of the majority of the people of Sugar Land. Making informed decisions can only be achieved by attending and participating in committee meetings and council workshops. It's not about attending social events, taking pictures, and posting on Facebook. I look forward to this council's leadership on approving the tax increase, and as always, I thank you for what you all have done.
Thank you, Joe. Would anyone else like to speak? Oh, I see one coming up right now. Okay, our next speaker is Michelle McKeska, and she's speaking against item 9A.
Good evening, council members. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I felt a need to respond. I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence in trying to make my point. I think you guys are all very smart, and we voted you into office and gave you a job to do. I think that it is the complete right of residents of Sugar Land to be able to question even past decisions, even if they were previously voted for. We're looking at an economy that is heading into a recession. You guys yourselves paused funding after Harvey because you wanted to do flood mitigation. I commend you for that decision. I'm not worried about flooding in Sugar Land because I believe our budget at that time was reasonably managed. I think that what is happening is that Sugar Land grew and had quite the boom along with Houston. But now we're seeing that at least 10,000 residents have left since 2019. This is a stat that we all know. So we have businesses leaving, we have residents leaving. So maybe this thing that we voted for, maybe we need to look at it and reconsider. That's all we're asking. And I don't think that our intelligence should be insulted for asking that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Would anyone else like to speak who's not signed up? Okay, public comment is closed. Now, item number 6, consent agenda. All consent agenda items listed are considered to be routine, except in case a council member wants to pull one.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Watley, second by Jacobson. Let's vote at this time. Okay, and it passes 7-0. Next item, 7A, contract with Branch Construction Group, LLC. Consideration of an action on authorization of a contract with Branch Construction Group, LLC in the amount of $6,305,160 for rehabilitation of Lift Station 48 project CIP CW W2301. And we have Jonathan Braun, Assistant City Engineer.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Let's see. There we go. All right. Today I'm presenting on Lift Station 48 construction contract for project CWW 2301. As you mentioned, I'm Jonathan Braun, Assistant City Engineer, and our project manager on this was Idahose Igmanova. I'll give you a bit of background on this project. It was recommended in the 2020 wastewater master plan, and we did a preliminary engineering study in 2021. The purpose and the goal of it is to enable the lift station to accommodate wastewater flows from the ultimate build-out of the Telfair development and additional wastewater flows from Lift Station 60, which is impacted by the Imperial redevelopment. Design contract was approved by City Council in March of 2023. Our grant to order easement was approved by Centerpoint in May of 2025. We got our TCEQ permit approved in 2025, and design was completed in June of 2025. Here's a little map. It's kind of hard to see, but do your best. On the left side is Lift Station 48. University is the north-south highway, the roadway that you see there, and this is just south of New Territory Boulevard. We are also proposing a 16-inch force main through the Centerpoint easement all the way to the north wastewater treatment plant. Some of the scope of work for the construction, we're going to rehab the lift station. That includes an additional wet well for the additional capacity. We're going to recoat the existing wet well. We've got valve vault improvements, new pumps and piping, electrical improvements and SCADA connectivity, standby generator, brick fencing in the front of the site and wood fencing on the sides, along with some landscaping. As I mentioned, we're going to do the 16-inch force main. This is to account for head losses from the additional capacity. Sorry about that. And that's going to run from Lift Station 48 to North Wastewater Treatment Plant. And we've got an alternative bid item in there for that allows us an option to put brick on the sides as well in lieu of the wood side fencing. Bids advertised on June 11th and June 18th. We held a non-mandatory pre-bid conference on June 24th, and then we got 9 bids on July 10th, 2025. On here, you'll see a listing of the bids in order from lowest to highest. They range from 6.3 million to 8.9 million, and Branch Construction Group was identified as the lowest responsive bidder on this. And that's based on the base bid items. Our engineer's cost estimate came in at 5.8, so the variance that we're seeing is within reasonable acceptance deviations. We have construction of base bid items at 6.3, as you saw. We're adding in contingency of 4% at $250,000. Construction administration, which will be a separate contract, will be $50,000, and materials and testing, also a separate contract, is $15,000. So total funding is going to be around $6.62 million for this project. We have available in the project $6.63 million. So with the small discrepancy there, we decided to not opt for the alternate additional brick fencing for this project. For the schedule, we're expecting notice to proceed October of 2025, substantial completion in 365 days, and then completion October 2026. Now we're going to follow policy number CO0110. This is going to be work done in a residential neighborhood, but it is on city property, and the other work for the force main is within the center point easement right-of-way. We're not expecting any sanitary sewer service interruptions. If we do need to notify residents, that will go through door hangers, mail-outs, and one-on-one communication. With that, the engineering and utilities departments recommend that the City Council authorize the execution of a construction contract with Branch Construction Group LLC for CIP CWW 2301, Lift Station 48 rehabilitation in the amount of $6,305,160. And with that, I will open the floor for questions.
Question? Councilmember Single?
You mentioned the contingency of 4%, around 250K. That will be used only if needed, if the scope increases?
That is correct, yes. That's only if needed, unforeseen conditions, site changes, change orders, and these things.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Watley?
Thank you, Mayor. Jonathan, we heard from a resident earlier saying that this bid was out of line based on other bids for other lift stations in other cities. Can you explain why this bid possibly isn't out of line?
Well, this one is also not just a lift station that we're going to be constructing here. We're installing over a mile, 5,700 linear feet of force main, 16-inch force main, which is a pretty heavy pipe. We've got that going in, and then we're adding capacity to this lift station. A new wet well, it's a pretty massive undertaking. We're also having to deal with some of the price uncertainty in the market with tariffs and material costs that have gone up, which is why you're seeing a little bit of the deviation in the costs from the engineer's estimate.
Follow up?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And the second question I have, this is not coming out of general fund. It is coming out of the utility fund balance. Can you explain that, please?
Yes, you're exactly right. Yes, this is all coming from funding from our revenue bonds that are part of the utility service fees that we get.
So in essence, it's planned for?
This is planned for, and it is necessary.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve.
Council member?
Yeah, a couple questions on my side. That was also my question, was the funding source. I saw the capital improvement, but I guess it's utility funds that we're using for this one. Earlier, we had an open meeting. Can you cover the bidding process, just a quick overview of that? And whenever we have an estimate for it, I think you said the estimate is 5.8, we have 6.6 allocated for it, and we're right about there. Do the bidders know the final budgeted amount before they make their estimate, or is that only after the fact that we diverge that?
Our CIP book will have a construction budget in there. However, that is not what we're using to go off of these. From my experience, the contractors are going off of market prices. Our engineers are going off of market and historical prices. And we're really using that engineer's estimate as our basis for determining if we're getting a fair price as well, right? So we're following up on these prices, or we're having our consultant team support us with that.
Okay, follow up?
Yes, please.
And then, let's see. Oh, can you cover some of the implications if we were to not do this project? You're talking about increased capacity and other things. Can you talk about the need for it?
Well, since it's supporting the redevelopment of those two areas, if we are not going to move forward with this project, we won't be able to support additional flows caused by those redevelopments in these areas.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we've got a motion by Watley. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Miller. Let's vote at this time. And the motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Council.
Item number 7B, contract with PGAL, Inc., consideration of and action on authorization of a contract with PGAL, Inc. in the amount of $3,848,000 for design services for the renovation of existing police department and court building and new police department headquarters project, CIP CMU 2507. And we have Lane Wolf, Senior Manager, Vertical Construction.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I will jump right into the background. The existing PD was built way back in 1996, 29 years ago. It's been expanded upon once in 2002. Current spaces cannot accommodate all the needs of the current police department. They have several new departments that have developed over time. In 2024, we had the GO bond. This project, the new PD building, was approved by the residents. The new building will provide more space and technology advancements. The existing PD building will be renovated as well to expand courts on the first floor and improve the function of the layout on the second floor. Here we have a location map. The new building is there in orange. It's going to be going next door to the police department, the existing police department shown in white. You see there the parking lot. This is just a draft. This contract is to start the design process, so we're just showing this diagrammatically. We also have an orange connector there between the two buildings. We're looking at trying to provide an aerial connector between the two buildings so that we don't have to get out into the elements if we need to move back and forth between the buildings. Summary, design of new police department building at approximately 50,000 square feet. The PD departments will expand into the new building. This includes EOC and dispatch departments. We'll also be investigating the aerial connection between the buildings. Then we're going to renovate the existing police department building, expand the courts, and renovate the second floor. Consultant selection, this was an RFQ process. We advertised on April 2nd and April 9th for policy PU 109, following the guidance of our legal department and purchasing. We had 11 design firms submit their qualifications. 4 design firms were selected for interview. The selection committee contained 7 stakeholders. Those included police, courts, EOC, dispatch, and engineering. Those stakeholders selected PGAL Architects as the most qualified firm. They're a local firm, been around since 1946, and have several offices throughout the United States. They have a long history of working with City of Sugar Land. They actually designed this building that we're in now. PGL scope, it includes the design of the approximately 50,000 square foot hardened facility to include EOC and dispatch, renovation of approximately 43,000 square feet of the existing police and courts building. Site improvements include parking expansion, security fencing, backup power generation, and landscaping. Phase construction to maintain full operational continuity, basically meaning we're going to build the new building. We'll take the personnel that's going to go into the new building, move them in to free up some space in the existing building so we can phase that construction and get the renovation portion done. Scope and schedule, the design team, they're providing a full design package. That includes basic design of schematic design, design development, construction documents, bidding, permitting through construction administration. Additional services include surveying, geotechnical, FF&E, and on-site parking design. Currently, the design team is ready to start design. Design and permitting is approximately 12 to 14 months. Construction is anticipating 18 to 20 months. Our project funding, our design budget for this project was $4.175 million. Here we have a line item breakdown of all the cost. The final line item is furniture, fixtures, equipment, and with a overall design total of $3.848 million. This fee is 6.6% of the overall construction cost. This project, the overall design of this project is, or construction of this project, I think the GO bond is a little over $60 million, $62 million. So this represents, for basic services, 6.6% fee. And with that, we have the request for approval. The Engineering and Police Department recommend the City Council approve a professional services contract with PJL for the design of the renovation existing PD and court building, plus the new PD headquarters, CIP CMU 2507, and the amount of $3,848,000. Any questions?
Councilmember Single?
Can you please explain what is the purpose of the old building? What will be the use of old building after the PD has moved to the new building?
It will still be used by PD and courts.
So PD will continue to use the old building as well as the new building?
That's correct. Courts will be expanding on the first floor. PD will be utilizing the rest of the first floor and all of the second floor.
And would you have a split between the old building renovation design and the new building design out of that 3.8 million? Is most of the money going for the design of the new building? Do you have the split?
Most of them, no, it's split probably more like 2/3, 1/3.
Okay, 2/3 for the new building and 1/3 for the renovation.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Betcher?
All right, so quick question. Which fund balance is this coming out of? Is this continuous improvement project?
This was an approved GO bond project.
GO bond? Okay. And then to follow up on Sanjay's question, the main need or use for this building, was it a capacity issue at the current police department?
That's correct.
Okay. And then I think you covered it, but the total follow-up, the total project cost for the new construction of the building is $63 million, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I will say, if I'm not mistaken, police department employees have doubled since that time.
Mm-hmm.
Just to put it in perspective.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, for the benefit of all the residents that are here tonight, explain what EOC is.
Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you, sir.
Mike, Mayor. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, Mayor. Lane, it's also my understanding that the need wasn't just capacity, but the current facility is not hardened for the level of hurricane we have, and so this was a cost-effective way to put the critical areas there, and then the areas that could, if they were damaged in the other building. Can you expand on that a little bit, please?
Yes. Basically, what you want to do is harden the facility to work up against a hurricane, high winds. So there's certain architectural things that you can do with the structural engineer to strengthen the building, strengthen the roofing materials, strengthen the windows from flying debris and things like that. It does add quite a bit of cost to the building, so that's why we're focusing on all the emergency operations and dispatch going in that building first, and then we'll do our best. If there's money left over, we'll try to reinforce the existing building as much as possible.
Councilmember Betcher?
Yeah, this follows up on something we discussed earlier, but I'm reading the thing and it says the 2024 general obligation bond election in Proposition A, which covers the total $63 million. So just to clarify, this isn't something that we could just not do because because the voters approved the GO bond in the election. We have to move forward with this project. Is that correct?
We should.
Yeah, I mean, the voters mandated that these projects be delivered. So yes.
Right. And this is going to follow up with the tax rate that we're going to discuss later.
Yes. Any other questions from council? Let's vote at this time. Oh, sorry, we need a motion. I'm getting too overly efficient. Okay, we've got a motion from Miller. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, second from Single. Okay, now we'll vote at this time. Thank you. Okay, and it passes 7-0. Thank you, Lane.
Great, thank you.
Next item is 7C, contract with Cummins Southern Plains LLC, DBA Cummins Sales and Service. Consideration of an action on authorization of a contract with Cummins Southern Plains LLC, DBA Cummins Sales and Service in the amount of $353,248.08 through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract number 092222 CMM for the purchase of a generator for the West Wastewater Treatment Plant, and authorization of a budget amendment in the amount of $194,400 to revenues and expenditures. And we have Katie Clayton, Director of Utilities.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, I have a generator purchase for you. Really quickly, some background. The city operates 4 wastewater treatment plants, one of which is our West plant, or we also call it our New Territory wastewater plant. You can see in the bottom right a location of where that is on the southwest side of New Territory subdivision, between the subdivision and the Brazos River. It is a 2.5 million gallon per day facility that treats wastewater from both the New Territory and River Park neighborhoods. It was annexed into the city in 2017 with the annexation of the New Territory development. So the city now owns it, and we operate it through a services contract with the Brazos River Authority, who operate all 4 of our wastewater plants. It does have an existing generator, but that generator, through an opportunity after Winter Storm Uri, the state, the Texas Department of Emergency Management, opened up hazard mitigation grants to the state because of critical infrastructure that failed due to power outages from Winter Storm Uri. And the city applied for several generator opportunities. This is one of them. We were awarded that grant in September of 2024. City Council approved using the TDEM hazard mitigation grant of $363,000 to purchase a backup generator for the West wastewater plant. It is a shared cost, so the share from TDEM is $194,400. The city has to make up the other cost. The generator purchase cost is $353,000. It is with Cummins Sales and Service and was sourced through Sourcewell cooperative agreements following the city's purchasing policy PU 108 that allows us to utilize cooperative purchasing agreements, thereby increasing efficiency and utilizing competitive pricing that's already been competitively bid. The local share for the city's share for this funding will be through the Brazos River Authority contract. So part of our contract with them annually includes a base fee that is their personnel cost, their pass-through costs associated with chemicals and sledge hauling, and then they do have $500,000 set aside each year for capital improvement projects, for small projects within the facilities themselves. So going into FY25, knowing that we had this grant in place, we set aside part of that funding to be able to utilize this grant. So a great opportunity to take advantage of this grant and maximize the BRA contract. And so with that, utilities staff recommends the approval of the contract with Cummins Sales and Service in the amount of $353,248.08 through Sourcewell contract 09-2222-CMM for the purchase of a generator for the West Wastewater Treatment Plant from the Hazard Mitigation Grant Funds, and approve a budget amendment in the amount of $194,400 to revenues and expenditures. And I would be happy to take any questions.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Vonderhaar.
Thank you very much. Quick question. What are the implications if this generator fails?
Sure. So these facilities, both water and wastewater, are expected to run 365 days a year, whether or not we have CenterPoint power to the facility. And so if these generators don't exist or they fail, then the implication is that either sewer is backing up into our system or it is not being treated and releasing back to the Brazos River.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a motion we approve.
Okay, motion by Vonderhaar, second by Betcher. Let's vote at this time. Okay, and it passes 7-0. Thank you, Katie. Next item is item 8A, consideration of and action on City of Sugar Land Resolution Number 2540, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, authorizing the redemption of bonds. And we have Jen Zhao, Director of Finance.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. This agenda item is to ask for your consideration and action on Resolution 2540, which is to authorize the redemption of bonds in 2026. So you may heard defeasance. The term has been used sometimes is for this early redemption of bonds. It is a financial tool that allows us to retire our bond before the bond reach their maturity dates. So the city usually issue 20-year bond, and all of our bonds are callable bond, which means we have call provision built into them that allows us to retire them before reaching the scheduled maturity without paying penalty. So usually we have 9 to 10 years built in. After issuance 9 to 10 years, we can pay off early. So after the 2 budget workshops, I'm sure we're all aware of that within the property tax levy, there's a debt service portion of it. So for the debt service levy, the revenue can only be used to pay outstanding debt. So the 2025 tax roll will generate approximately $31.732 million debt service revenue. This early redemption dollar amount is included in that amount. So the early redemption will help us maintain adequate debt service revenue and also preserve capacity for future bond issuance. It's not moving down. Oops, it was not moving down, I moved down too fast. So the recommended redemption. So there are 3 maturities being identified from 2030, 2031 to 2032. They're all from 2013 certificates of obligation. So by paying off early, the estimated saving is about $298,000. This redemption requires City Council's approval of a resolution to call the bond and also make them payable in fiscal year 2026 prior to adoption of the tax rate. So resolution number 2540, this is the resolution that authorizes us to do the early redemption of these 3 maturities. And this resolution also allows our paying agent to redeem the identified bond, and also we need to notify EMMA for this early redemption. By the way, EMMA stands for Electronic Municipal Market Access. So this slide just gives you some detail of the identified maturity. They are all from 2013, and each of them have $1.26 million in principal. It yields a total $3.78 million. So recommendation, the staff recommends the City Council approve resolution number 2540, authorizing early redemption of 3 maturities of bonds totaling $3.78 million on February 15th, 2026. So now I'm open to questions.
Councilmember Jacobson?
Thank you, Mayor. Joe, say again, please, where does the 3.78 million come from?
Is within the debt service revenue next year, built into this debt service rate.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, Councilmember Betcher?
Any penalty or implication of paying it off early?
No, that's why we have those call provision built in.
Any more questions? Oh, yeah, Councilmember Singh?
Is the interest we make on the money in the debt service, is it similar to what we are paying? Like roughly you are paying 3.75% for the bonds. Are we also getting similar interest where we keep it the money?
If we, now,
Yeah.
Are you asking for the investment return?
No, so basically, if we don't repay this bond, that money will be kept in our debt service fund or in that fund, which will be invested. Yeah?
Theoretically, yes, but this one is, we built into the debt service, is in the debt service rate, is from the property tax. Actually, this is a money we're going to levy based on current tax law. So it's not the money on hand right now. It's built into the next year revenue. Yeah.
Any other questions? Councilmember Jacobson?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Jacobson, second by Watley. Let's vote at this time. And it passes 7-0. Okay, thank you, Jean. Next item is item 9A, tax record vote. Consideration of and action on setting the City of Sugar Land proposed 2025 tax rate, setting public hearing, and directing staff to publish the notice of proposed 2025 tax rate. Shalae Stedman, Director of Budget.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here before you this evening for the next step in the process of setting the tax rate for the tax year 2025. At the conclusion of this presentation, you'll make a motion to take a record vote on and set a public hearing on the proposed tax rate. This is not the final vote on the property tax rate. Property tax is critical and stable funding source for the city, making up about 1/3 of the general fund revenues. Unlike sales tax, which can fluctuate with the economy, property tax provides a predictable and consistent base to build an annual budget. It's one of the few revenue streams the city does not fully control. The appraisal district sets the property values and the state limits rate flexibility. Even at current value levels, property tax does not fully fund public safety. It covers about 73% of those costs, requiring other revenues to fill in the gap. Property tax is made up of two parts, maintenance and operation, or the M&O rate, and interest and sinking, or our INS rate, or debt service rate. Maintenance and operations funds our day-to-day services, such as police, fire, streets, parks, utilities, and our interest and sinking funds our debt service, which pays for the principal, interest, and fees on tax-supported bonds, and is legally restricted to our debt costs. Senate Bill 2 in 2019 modernized Texas truth and taxation process with standardized notices, an online tax rate database, calculator, record vote requirements, and firm adoption deadlines. It established two key benchmarks, the no new revenue rate, which keeps our M&O revenue from existing property roughly flat, excluding new construction and adjustments for refunds and corrections. And the voter approval rate, which allows up to 3.5% M&O revenue growth. Anything higher requires election. Just for note, the INS debt rate is calculated separately and isn't subject to the 3.5% cap. Entities that participate in the truth and taxation process include our Fort Bend County Central Appraisal District, which appraises and certifies property values in the county. The Fort Bend County Tax Assessor/Collector, which serves as the city's designated tax assessor, collector, and prepares and certifies our truth and taxation calculations. Then, of course, the city, which sets a tax rate necessary to fund the adopted budget with those provisions we just discussed. This chart compares the 2024 property tax rates among Texas cities 100,000 more or more. This came from the Texas Comptroller. Sugar Land reflects a low rate in the comparison group, and our continued commitment to keeping property tax burden low while funding city services. This chart compares our city property tax rates for M&O and INS to some of our neighboring cities. As you can see the breakout of the purple being our M&O rate and that gray being the INS rate. Only Rosenberg and Fulshire are lower. However, it is key to note with Fulshire, they also have a 0.1 cent included for emergency EMS and fire services. So when you add that back in, it makes their M&O rate higher than Sugar Land as well. Sugar Land's INS share is modest, reflecting a disciplined debt management and helping keep the total rate competitive. This illustration helps tell Sugar Land's history of responsible tax relief while balancing the preservation of city's ability to fund services and issue debt. Here you can see the average taxable value of the homestead has changed over time and how the city's homestead exemption has reduced the value before we even apply the tax rate. So that red striped area is what residents would have paid without our exemption. And this is the certified values from 2024 to certified values of 2025, or in other words, last year's budget at this time to this year's budget at this time. And this is all the calculations. The truth in taxation calculation is prepared and certified each year by the Fort Bend County Tax Assessor. So as a reminder, and then for the tax year 2024, the calculation adjusts for refunds, settled lawsuits, undisputed taxable values, and ensures the base reflects all potential revenues to the city. For the tax year 25, the calculation removes new property values, since truth in taxation is designed to compare ongoing taxable values without the effect of growth. So as you can see with that calculation, the no new revenue tax rate is at 0.367991, with our current nominal rate being at 0.353210. The voter approval tax rate is at 0.372420. When we add in the unused increment from the past 3 years, the voter approval rate is at 0.377063. Last fall, voters overwhelmingly approved a $350 million in general obligation bond program. Residents approved the bond with the understanding that the city would gradually increase the property tax rate by up to 5 cents per $100 of value over the next 5 years. The proposed 1 cent increase for fiscal year 26 is the first step in fulfilling that commitment. As you can see, for the proposed split this year, the M&O rate would be 0.211555, and the debt service is 0.151655. And this is consistent with that 1 penny increase for the $350 million bond package. Over the past several years, we've steadily adjusted and rebalanced the tax rate between M&O and debt service to meet service needs while preparing for future obligations. This practice has allowed us to avoid the sharp spikes in any single year. Since our proposed tax rate is lower than the no new revenue rate, the public hearing notice will provide this the proposed hearing will have this information included on it. It will say, we are not proposing to increase a 2025 property tax. This notice will be published once City Council votes on the rate, and this language is set by the truth in taxation process. Truth in taxation calculations are not just used for setting the tax rate, they are also used in the public notice on the budget, which will be going out tomorrow. The truth in taxation process looks at the city's potential property tax value compared to the prior year. So because our proposed budget is based on a rate below the no new revenue rate, the notice shows that the city is budgeting less in property tax value. And once again, this ties directly to the TNT formula and required process. The average home value increased from $505,000 to $522,000. At the proposed rate, the tax bill will be at $1,613, which is an increase of $95 for the year, or about $7.80 per month. The impact will vary greatly depending on the individual home values changes. The next step in the tax rate process includes the publication of the notice of the proposed tax rate planned for August 27th, holding of the public hearing on 2025 proposed tax rate on September 9th, and then the vote to adopt the tax rate after the fiscal year 26 budget on September 16th. And I do want to highlight, because the recommended tax rate is below the no new revenue rate, the public hearing is not required. However, we are going to continue as normal. As mentioned, a motion is required to take a record vote on the tax rate. This is not an adoption of the tax rate, but just a first step in the process and propose a tax rate to consider. Additionally, a motion is required to set the public hearing on the tax rate scheduled for September 9th. Before we move to action, I'd like to open it up for any questions for staff.
Okay. Well, first, I'd like to say, just to recap, back in November, voters approved $350 million in bonds to fund critical projects in public safety, mobility, drainage, municipal facilities, and a new animal shelter. And these projects will be implemented over the next 5 to 7 years. And when my predecessor spoke about the bond election from this chair, he said that if the bonds passed, there would be an associated tax rate increase. Sugar Land voted, and the bonds were approved, and your vote is in action. Mike, did you have something?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. As you're aware, I have a responsibility under the city charter to file a budget that meets the needs and expectations of our public and recommend a tax rate to the city council that funds this important work. I understand there are concerns about increasing the property tax rate, and I also understand there's a fair amount of misinformation being circulated on this. But I want to take a moment to explain why this adjustment is necessary to maintain the exceptional quality of life we all value in Sugar Land. The penny is tied to the GO bond delivery, reducing future swings in tax rates. On November 5th, 2025, voters approved $350 million in projects, ensuring that Sugar Land remains safe, vibrant, and a thriving community. This citizen mandate is to deliver these projects in the next 5 to 7 years with a net impact to the residents of 5 cents. This will be challenging with tariffs, with other cost increase, but today we still believe that we're going to be able to maintain this, but this penny will be critical to doing that. We have a long-standing commitment to maintain a tax rate that is consistent and without large swings year after year. Additionally, we have a commitment to provide world-class services with one of the lowest tax rates in the state of Texas. This budget accomplishes both. If City Council does not allocate the penny this year, it is my professional opinion that you will have to take a much larger increase next year to continue to deliver the GO mandated by the majority of our residents. Our community continues to be recognized nationally, ranked number 3 best city to live in the U.S., the number 2 safest and most affordable city for the family of 4. These accolades are a direct result of continued investment in public safety, infrastructure, facilities that make Sugar Land such an incredible place to live. The fact I am recommending a tax rate below the new revenue rate is a clear representation of us moving forward with a minimum necessary increase to deliver the GO bonds. A portion of this increase is dedicated to M&O, but long-term, this penny is fully dedicated to funding the GO bond. Shifts like this are one of the many levers we have to minimize sharp spikes in a single year. Additionally, we have identified over $4.7 million in recurring M&O efficiencies, including the reduction of 16 employee positions. And this is the only reason why I am able to recommend a budget that is below the no new revenue rate. I want to be clear that property tax makes up 33% of the city's operating revenues and currently supports less than 3/4 of the cost of public safety. Public safety compensation and benefits are currently $56.3 million, an increase of $10.3 million in 2 years. During the same period of time, the ad valorem revenue increase for maintenance operations has been $5.2 million, not even covering half of the cost of the public safety increases. The reality is cost of services continue to increase. Look around at our neighboring cities, some of who are having to go to the voters to authorize a tax rate to provide the same level of service as last year. And I'm very proud of the work we have done to find the efficiencies and reductions to limit the increases to the public to the smallest amount possible, which I believe this has done. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Single?
Yeah. So from the details which you gave, the 1% increase, half of it is approximately is going to MNO, 0.43, and half, which is 0.5, is going into the geo bond payment debt service. So is it right to say that not all increase is because of geo bond? Some increase is because of operational expense increase, some increase is because of geo bond. Am I right in saying that?
Just as our city manager explained, yes, part of it is going to MNO this year, but the full 5 cents we need in the 5-year forecast will all eventually be shifted back to the debt service. This just allows us not to have a huge spike any year in the upcoming 5 years.
That's follow?
Yeah, follow.
Yeah. No, so I understand the geo bond was approved, and obviously the council will expend that money judiciously as we go through. And the increase which is proposed, half of it is going to the geo bond obligation, but other half is going to the operational expense, which possibly is under our control to revisit by the council. Yeah.
Councilmember Jacobson?
Thank you, Mayor. Chalet, do I understand this correctly, that the maintenance and operation tax is subject to 3 tests? One is the no new revenue, which means no more revenue came in than we got last year, which, by the way, we're at that, right? That's what we're proposing.
We're below that, yes.
We're below that. So we're actually not going to bring in as much as we did last year.
Of our potential revenue, yes.
Yes, okay. And that we have a rate that is the max that we can let the income rise, and the M&O, 3.5%.
Yes.
And then if we let it rise any higher than that, then we have to go to a voter approval. Yes? And then, so that I understand that, though you can't take money from the debt service and apply it over to operations and maintenance, that you actually can take operations and maintenance, you can use it to pay debt, and we have done that shifting before in the past. And the reason that we do that shifting, and that we would be applying some of it to the maintenance and operation rate this year, is because if, as someone mentioned, one of our speakers mentioned, that we're headed for a recession, we already know that home sales are falling, have slowed down to almost nothing, and that if our taxable value comes in the same or lower next year, as the city manager mentioned, we might actually be in a situation where we would have to have a large increase in the maintenance and operation. So this is us dealing with the legislature's mandate that we play these games when we raise 1 penny, which we know is really for the projects of the GO bond, but we really have to play this game and allocate part of it to M&O just to keep the taxpayers from being on a tax roller coaster. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilmember Betcher?
All right, thank you, Chalet. Just to kind of clarify to everybody tonight, this is just a record vote for the posting of the rate, not the final vote on the rate itself. One of the questions I was going to ask is, so when property valuations go up, the no new revenue rate typically goes down, but I know we saw some interesting things happen this year, considering I know TERS 1 disappeared, and a few other things. Can you comment on the no new revenue tax rate and how that was calculated this time around, just to inform the public?
Yes. I just want to clarify, TERS 1 does not go away until December of this year, so it is still in these calculations. So we still subtract it out because it still exists, because we're always looking 1 year behind for tax rate 2025, the calendar year. And then your second question was on the no new revenue rate, how it was calculated.
Right, just give a quick walkthrough of that for the public, if you could.
Yes, so the no new revenue rate, let me just jump right back to it. The no new revenue rate, it takes account for values for refunds and settled lawsuits. So that's why you can see up at the top, that first row, that is last year's adjusted taxable value, which is why it's higher than this year's taxable value. And it's because it has taken account for the refunds and settled lawsuits and our undisputed taxable values. So it takes those two and it says, what rate do we need to get the same potential revenue we would have received in tax year 24? And that's where the no new revenue rate comes from. Did that clarify your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Single?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I would like to give my view a little bit in detail, so pardon me. So first, I would like to thank you, Shelley, for you and your team for doing hard work and preparing the budget. And also thanks to all the city employees who are in the room, public safety and all, for continuing to doing the very hard work. So I'll put my views in a very simple term, not playing games or anything, just specifying what we heard from the resident, what are my views also. So the tax increase which is proposed is in two buckets. One is to pay for the geo bond, half of it, which is possibly can be justified. The other half is to pay the increase in maintenance and operation. Yeah, that's right. Now, we heard from the resident that they want us to manage with what we have and not increase tax rate. So what that means is the budget need not be based on what we want. It has to be based on what we can afford. That's the difference in thinking, which I want everybody to remember. And that is my view, that we are in a time where we need to work with what we can afford, what our customer, which are the residents, are allowing us to do, and then maintain our expenditure within that. Now, one thing I would like to highlight, and I would have this discussion focused on general fund only, not the overall budget. In general fund, without increasing the tax rate, we are getting an increase of around 555 million. That's coming because of the increase in valuation and possibly increase in the sales tax. So if you compare with 2024 budget expected revenue and 2025 projected revenue, it's 7 million increase, and out of that 7 million, 1.4 is coming because of the half penny which we are increasing in the MNO. My recommendation to the council, which I also said in the budget workshop, is to maintain MNO expenses in general fund so that we don't have to increase the property tax on MNO portion. And that's all within our reach. We can still deliver on the geo bond. We can still work a little bit more efficiently within the city operation and not have to increase the tax. That is my view, which I believe can be achieved. Now, in the budget workshop, I did spell out how that can be achieved by cutting some of the expenses, and I will not go into detail here, but it was all spelled out very clearly how we can make that saving of 1.4 million in our general fund expenditure so that we don't have to increase the MNO portion of the property tax increase. That's my really considered view with all the city council members, that you consider it and review the proposed tax rate and not increase for the MNO portion. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Watley?
While that sounds good, it's not really realistic, and we went over that as well. The reality is, if we don't take the 1 cent now, to the point of Councilmember Jacobson, we don't have what we may need next year. We see a leveling out of assessments in our property values, and if you think it's going up next year, I don't know where you're getting that information, but to be realistic, we don't see an increase in property values coming in beyond what they are. Now, hopefully, maybe they'll go up. But if we don't see that income coming in that you're counting on next year, that you're not taking this year, and we look at that and we see an increase in inflation, we're kind of, I'm not going to say the word, but we're in a pickle. So we have it at our ability right now, and next year, if we don't, you're going to be seeing CIP projects that the city has voted for, that our residents voted for, that we have to start and then we have to pay for. You're looking at a 2 cent increase in our property taxes. That's going to be really hard for us to take on. I don't want to do. Listen, I have to pay commercial taxes too. I don't want to see anybody have to suffer a 2 cent increase in 1 year because we aren't making the right decision right now. No Nobody wants to increase anything. Nobody on this dais wants to do that. But we have to do the responsible thing that makes sense right now, and you just heard all the reasons. And secondly, we're not in the business of managing this city. We're in the business of making sure what they're doing makes sense, yes. But I don't run a city, I run a business, and they run it differently. And I think when you're making comparisons from having to run a city to running a business, we need to learn a little bit more about the process before we start telling them how to do it. That's my opinion. You can take it or leave it, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to see a 2-cent increase for anybody out there next year. Thank you.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Shalay, again, let's just play the state of Texas's game. Actually, by going to 0.36 from 0.35, we are actually not bringing any more tax dollars in, right? We are making do with the same amount of income that we did last year, even though we have inflation and tariffs and all that other stuff. The rate shows a penny increase, but our income, the city is making do with the exact same amount of money as we got last year, correct?
So I just want to clarify, yes. Okay. So the calculation is set on the potential revenue that we could have received. We did not receive all of that because of these lawsuits and undisputed litigation. But yes, that's how the whole truth in taxation works, is no new revenue rate is, that would be the same values we would have received in the past year.
Follow up?
Follow up.
And if, for instance, we were to attribute the whole 1 penny to the debt service, we would possibly, if we are headed for an economic downturn, we could, again, possibly be setting ourselves up for a large M&O increase. But we can use excess for the M&O to handle the debt service, right? So again, it's the state's game that we're playing. It's a penny regardless, no matter what. Yes. It's the same penny. Mm-hmm. We're just using it in a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Effective, clever, strategic way.
Yes.
It's very nuanced, extremely nuanced, and not everybody gets it. And with the best of intentions, it's possible to not quite understand how you're new, but this is your profession. How long did it take you to be fully aware of how this whole damn thing works?
It's a very interesting, confusing process.
Thank you.
Councilor Stengel.
Yeah, so, Stuart, with what you said, all the budget process which we went through where the revenue was projected with the current increase, our M&O revenue was increasing. It is not less than what we took, and both portion of M&O. M&O gets, general fund gets 2 portions. One is from the property tax M&O, one is from the sales fund. Both individually was increasing, and the total was increasing. So we are getting more revenue. Now, I do understand that there are nuances in what we do because we move fund from one to another, but I'm looking from the property owner point of view. The fact is that he has to pay more tax, as was demonstrated right now, whether it's $100, $120 more, which I'm looking at the ways to avoid. I believe, and as I said, on the geo bond, yes, there is a commitment to improve the city, and I'm all for it. What I demonstrated more in detail, which I don't want to repeat here, is that for the maintenance portion, for the geo bond, for the maintenance portion in the general fund, we can achieve maintaining our operation with what we have without an M&O increase. So that is the point I was making.
Yes. Other questions? Any other questions, anybody?
I have a question. Would you please put up the motion that needs to be read exactly?
I went too far.
Would you like to maybe clear the room or have a recess while the public gets whatever it is they need to get out of their mouths?
Okay, just ask for the quorum and the council.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.36321, which is effectively a 1.2% decrease in the tax rate, and set a public hearing on September 9th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. at Sugar Land City Hall, 2700 Town Center Boulevard North.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jacobson, a second by Watley. Let's vote at this time.
Yeah. So we need to, after motion, can we not discuss?
Oh, yes, please do. Go ahead and
I
make
think
final,
there is a-
yes, go ahead and make final comments.
So I still stand by my proposal that I think we need to not increase the M&O portion of the property tax. And I would like to make a motion to amend the proposal to set the tax increase to 0.358210, which is only half a penny. Do I have a second?
No. I'll second it for your discussion.
So do we have a second or no?
So it's not, you're not officially seconded then, so the motion, if it's not official.
I said second.
Huh?
Second.
Oh, you are seconding the motion.
Just to hear a discussion.
Yeah. So I will just, explain more my proposal. I want the increase to be reduced instead of 1 cent to half a cent, which will only go to the geo bond and not go to the M&O. And we maintain our M&O expenditure in line of what we have. And I again once offer, I can sit with anybody who would like to see how it can be achieved.
Okay, so do you want to restate your motion then?
So my motion would be that I move that the property tax rate to be increased to an amount of 0.358210, which I will not say it's a decrease or increase, and the public hearing to be set for September 9, 2025.
Okay, so yeah, well, let's vote at this time then? Discussion. Okay, more discussion then. Okay, so we still have additional discussion. Okay.
So
Councilmember Mitchell.
Sanjay, what's the impact of your proposal here?
So basically, if you decrease the tax increase by half cent, you will lose around $1.4 million in revenue. And I propose that you make up that $1.4 million by saving in operations. Nothing to do with the geo bond, just pure saving in operation by running it more efficiently.
I have a question.
Councilmember Watling.
Thank you, Mayor. What is the value of the increase that you are approving, and how much of that is all going to all going to GEO bond? What is the budget for the GEO bond in '26?
Yeah, so you want me to answer? Yeah. So the budget for GEO bond is much more, and we are paying as a debt service bond. But as it was shown in the budget calculation, the GEO bond, which is the debt service portion of the tax, will continue to increase as we implement the GEO bond. But the maintenance and operation part, which is in the general fund expenditure, even if we keep the tax rate as what it is today, we will have to maintain and manage with what we have.
Call for a vote.
Okay, so you called for a vote? Okay.
I was just asking a question. What would be the long-term implication to the debt and the general fund with this proposal?
I think it will not change in the general fund anything because, sorry, you're asking.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next year, so for this year in our CIP plan, we're planning on issuing about $70 million worth of debt. When we calculate the debt service rate, we only look at what we've already issued. So that $70 million we're planning on issuing in fiscal '26 is not part of that INS or our debt service rate. It will be next year. And so next year we need the 2 cents. So we will have to not only go up the half cent this year, but we would have to do the 1.5 next year. That's why we adjust between the two.
Follow up.
So then just to reiterate that, so if you defer it this year, you're going to have to increase it by 1.5 next year.
Correct.
Okay.
Councilmember Stingle.
Yeah. So if my understanding is correct, for the INS portion of the budget and the debt services, we will have to increase as the debt increases and as the service becomes due. For the M&O portion, which goes into the general fund, as long as we can keep managing our expense in line with what we get with the flat tax rate for the M&O portion, it should not spill over to what we do in the general fund. So the notion that because if we do only half cent this year, next year increase will be higher is not true. What I'm saying, I'm not saying we just defer the money to next year. I'm saying that we don't increase the M&O portion of the property tax. We reduce the expenditure by $1.4 million to make it even. We have to continue to be efficient. I'm not suggesting to play a game that put from one bucket to another bucket. If we don't go into the line of controlling the expenditure, I can bet that next year we will be sitting here and also increasing both M&O as well as the debt fund, which is what I don't want.
Any other questions or comments?
Comment.
Okay, Councilman Fisher.
From a financial security standpoint for the budget, would it make more sense to keep the proposed rate and still cut spending at the same time? And if we did find extra additional savings, then use that to pay down the debt? Would that be a safer route?
It's a,
I mean, we have budget workshops on Thursday mornings, and so if the council wants to do that work, and then that would be what I would recommend you do during those workshops.
Okay.
Can you tell us what we're voting on now?
Okay, so is your motion still on the table, Councilmember Single?
No, so I think I would like first the voting to be done if council is willing to reduce the increase, which is the motion I made.
So you're
amendment, that's the amendment which I made.
You're making an amended motion to this right
Yes.
here, okay? And so you have a motion by Single and a second by Betcher. So we can vote at this time.
Mayor, we'll need to do a roll call vote.
Oh, do a roll call vote. Okay.
It needs to be on the record. And if I could have silence in the chamber, that would be appreciated.
Okay. So any particular order, just nice order? Okay, I'll just start with.
Voting on the half a cent.
We're voting on the half a cent, and I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Von der Haar? No. Councilmember Jacobson?
No.
Councilmember Betcher?
No.
Councilmember Watley? No. Councilmember Single?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
No.
Mayor McCutcheon?
No.
It fails. Now we'll vote on the main motion. If, Mayor, you want to restate the...
Yeah, okay, so the motion made by Councilmember Jacobson is seconded by Councilmember Watley is, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a rate of 0.36321, which is effectively a 1.2% decrease in the tax rate. Set a public hearing on September 9th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. at Sugarland City Hall, 2700 Town Center Boulevard North.
We'll do another roll call vote for the record. Councilmember Von der Haar?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacobson?
Yes.
Councilmember Betcher?
Yes.
Councilmember Watley? Yes. Councilmember Single?
No.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Mayor McCutcheon?
Yes.
It passes 6-1.
Okay, thank you. So next item is item 10, City Council and City Manager reports. Councilmember Betcher.
Well, this past week was out of country in Oman, but finally made it back, was able to be attending in the budget meetings, the workshop by phone, hosted HEB over the weekend, had a great time with them at Constellation Field, and ready to get to work on this budget and see what we can do to save the taxpayers some money.
Thank you. Councilor Jacobson?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended, along with Councilmember Single, a party at the Plaza, which was the kickoff to the back-to-school season, and I will yield the other two because I know a bunch of us did the other things together.
Yeah. Councilmember Von der Haar?
I, too, attended the party in the Plaza. It was a really, really well-done event, so commend the city for putting that on. I also attended the police officer development graduation ceremony where we installed 4 new police officers. So thank you for all of our first responders, but especially welcome to the 4 new ones.
Councilmember Miller? You.
Okay, I had a great night at Constellation Field with the TML event. I thought that was great.
Councilmember Stengel?
Yeah, it was a busy 2 weeks, so I attended the party on the plaza with others. Also attended the Sugarland Police Officers graduation ceremony, so congratulations to all. I also attended a gathering at the Smiley Jamaat Khana, which was to welcome the new council. I attended the Unity Fest, which was organized on Synod Road by Ashlakshmi Temple. And I also attended the TML seminar, which was very good occasion to meet the other mayors and other council members. Thank you.
Councilmember Watley?
Thank you, Mayor. I did a few of those things I forgot about, but thank you, Mayor, for joining me at the Covington Woods HOA meeting. We had a good time talking about all kinds of stuff, but thank you for coming.
Welcome. Is that it? Okay. And I was a judge at the Miss Chinatown Houston pageant, and I saw Teresa So of Sugar Land complete her reign. Also spoke to women veterans at the American Legion, and I spoke at India's 79th Independence Day. So, City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to invite the public out this Thursday. It's our third budget workshop at 7:30 in the morning in the Kane Room at City Hall, and we look forward to going through the next level of our budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I make a motion to adjourn the House.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
No. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.